Guys, welcome to the MrMaple Show.
What's up, everybody? This is Brian, and I got my homie, Corbin. We're here today bringing you some killer trees on this 10 at 10 lineup for June 20th, 2024, the first day of summer.
Man, it's getting hot up in here.
It's getting hot.
The fish are jumping, man. The living is easy.
Yeah, that's right.
And guys, we brought you 10 trees to check out today at 10 a.m.
Make sure you sign up for that email because we're always putting out some killer plants every single week, twice a week. I mean, we bring it like nobody else out there. So make sure you're kind of in the loop on what we got going on here at MrMaple. You don't want to miss out. We got some nice trees to bring up here to the table today. I'm excited to get talking about some of these.
Yeah, Crazy Maple brothers are out for the day. Crazy Maple cousins bringing it in. And we got an awesome pseudosanum we're going to start off with. Acer pseudosanum Isidisid.
Isidisid, yes. This one is really cool. This is one I grew back in Oklahoma. Kind of a cool couple of things I'd like to talk about on this is, number one, you get that very cold tolerant variety here being a pseudosanum. Plus, just from my personal experience growing this in Oklahoma, it's also very heat tolerant. So you kind of get a wide spectrum of those benefits of those two characteristics in this tree. Absolutely love that about it. I grew this in full sun in Oklahoma, so this thing can handle the heat. Beautiful green lace leaf on this. Get some nice bigger size leaves too. One of the things I like about it, reminds me of kind of that japonicum-esque, dissectum style leaf on it.
Yeah, man, this will add some great contrast in your garden, give you a nice green lace leaf to pair with those reds and oranges you're going to get. And I mean, this one is really cool. Get that very rigid structure that you're talking about, yeah. Reminiscent of a japonicum, leaf shape reminiscent of a japonicum. And it's hard to beat that cold tolerant maple for those really frosty zones. I mean, this tree is going to perform great. I know that I think these ones leaf out a little bit later too, to protect you from that late frost as well. And I mean, awesome bold orange fall colors that are really going to brighten up the landscape during that fall time.
Absolutely, yeah. And don't sleep on the spring colors on this too. The more sun you give it, it's got some nice kind of like orange pink highlights when those things first leaf out. And like I said, it's got that nice larger kind of beefy style lace leaf to it. So it adds a lot of texture to the garden. So definitely one you want to add to your landscape. I think you guys definitely need to jump on this and get this one in your cart and buy it at MrMaple. All right, next up.
All right, what are we rocking with next? Oh, interesting, man. Too bad we ain't got one called Kermit, man.
I know, right? Right. That'd be the dynamic duo.
Because we got Acer pomatum, Miss Piggy here, guys. An awesome tree, a little funky, a little Frankenstein type deal. Fasciated growth that's going to give you just kind of, crazy. It's not as, symmetrical as a regular maple.
Right.
Sometimes you get those fasciated buds growing on some of that newer growth. That's just going to send buds out everywhere.
Yeah, it really does kind of have this weird twisted mutation on some of that growth on it. I really like that about it. Sets itself apart. There's so many different things that people are looking for to kind of give a unique characteristic that makes you say, wow, that's the cultivar I want. Miss Piggy brings that. It's got a nice kind of a purplish pink border to it when it comes out in the spring as well. So that's a nice addition to that nice green color you get in the summer months. And then some nice orange reds in the fall. Really bringing this plant to life. I love Miss Piggy. It's kind of in that like Macawa-esque family. It's not one of the official Macawa family members, but it definitely has that kind of just characteristic to it. The bud internodes are very close together, and so it kind of has that compact shingled layer feel to it.
Yeah, this is one I put in like my Acer pomatum like freak show kind of deals.
Yeah.
It's like purple curl. you know, Ruby Ridge, and then maybe Miss Piggy kind of sitting there, all hanging out at the freak show. I love just how the branches can be like a little oblong.
Yeah.
Because just like two of those buds kind of formed together, gave you just a weird looking tree. And I mean, nothing cooler than seeing like, you know, 20 leaves coming out of about like 2 inches of
Right.
space on the tree. I mean, look at yours, Brian. Yours just has a lot of that fasciated growth right at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know if it picks it up well on camera, but you know, that's about like a 1/4 of an inch wide, just the branch, because of the fasciated growth.
This is definitely a collector's plant for sure. It's going to look so cool out in your landscape, kind of different from everything else out there that you've got. And I know as a collector, you know, that's what I'm always trying. I'm looking for something that's just got that little extra flair to it. And Miss Piggy brings that for sure.
Yeah, I love the fall colors, you know, getting those oranges, and it definitely is going to look crazy with how dense it gets during the fall, and that winter interest of just like freaky looking thing, man.
It's a freak, man. Get Miss Piggy. This is one of my favorite japonicums. I do kind of say that about all japonicums, but this one definitely does set itself apart. This is Acer japonicum Blushing Beauty.
Yeah, man, an amazing spring interest japonicum. Got amazing blushing colors over top of, you can kind of see it on the new growth a little bit, kind of that orange blushing color over top of the greener eye, giving you that nice spring interest into a beautiful japonicum leaf of that dark green that most of those japonicums get. And I mean, just a really cool tree out in the landscape, and one you're going to want in the garden for sure.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those, like, you know, for propagators and cultivators, this is kind of like in that realm of like the holy grail to have like a red japonicum. So this gives you a really nice kind of red to pink blush in the spring, and then giving you kind of that same red to pink blush when you get that new growth over top of the dark green. And you know, the other day I have this in my garden. I've got a lot of other japonicums, and I noticed that this one has some of the largest leaves too, also, as compared to a lot of the other cultivars that I have in my garden. Now, I do have this in a lot of shade, which does kind of help accentuate that larger leaf, you know, because it's trying to find as much sunlight as it possibly can. So, you know, I definitely recommend giving this, you know, afternoon shade for sure. But don't be afraid to put this in some nice, you know, heavy shaded areas, because you're going to get these really large leaves, and you're still going to get that nice kind of a blushing color that in that new growth and that spring color. So
yeah, that giant leaf really adds a lot of nice color for the fall time. You know, an amazing palette. Japonicums are going to give you such a rigid structure. You can see that at a young age. You see how quick some of that calipers up towards the bottom, and you know, it's not as much branching as you would get in a normal palmatum. I feel like the bud terminals are a lot more spread out in a japonicum, and that really leads to a very rigid structure. It's going to be, you know, that bash in the fall. You're going to get all those amazing colors that japonicums are known for. And Blushing Beauty, you know, it's that added spring interest.
yeah, definitely one that you need to add especially if you're into the japonicums and you're collecting those. This one's got to be in your collection.
All right, man. What do we got up next, man?
All right, so what we got next is a beautiful variegated Japanese maple. We got Acer pomatum Uzen Nishi.
Oh, man, this was one that always caught my eye right as soon as I started working here. You guys know I'm a sucker for variegation. And this was really one of the first kind of like Arino Nishiki style variegated ones I saw. You know, talking to Tim, he doesn't necessarily know if it fits in that kind of description, because it's got this crazy kind of that Arino Nishiki with like a speckled variegation, sand dusting variegation over top of it.
Yeah, this definitely kind of pushes the borders of, you know, what you would think in a typical variegated style Japanese maple. This thing has a lot of the characteristics of kind of a lot of different styles of variegation all in one plant. So I love that about it. You get that, like you said, that kind of sand dusting along with some swirling and splotches in the leaf. And then it even gets into the bark interest as well. You get some nice striping, kind of candy striping, pinks and white striping in the bark of it. So that really, really does play into all those characteristics you love about variegated Japanese maples. This one kind of just brings them all together and takes it next level.
Yeah, I mean, I love whenever you get that candy striping in the bark,
Yeah.
you know. That's just how you know you're getting a good variegated plant too. It's like sometimes I won't even look at the leaf on a tree. I'll look directly at that bark.
Right.
And I mean, sometimes you get crazier pinks in the bark than you would in the leaf, but this one is definitely one you're going to want to keep in a little bit more shade to
Yeah.
pick up those colors, get more consistency in those colors. And I mean, even on some of these greener leaves, you're still seeing a lot of the speckled variegation of that white. And I mean, during the springtime, this is a very dramatic show in the garden. You're going to be getting those very bright pinks mixed with the whites, mixed with the greens, and that's one of my favorite color combinations that maples offer is that pink, white, and green combo. And Uzen Nishi, it's one that you're going to want to get if you just enjoy those theatrics of the garden, especially in the early springtime.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like kind of the ultimate contrast Japanese maple. It contrasts so well within itself, but then it has such an array of colors that you can play off of that with a lot of things out in your garden and your landscape. You know, you put this next to like a red lace leaf, it's really, really going to pop. Put this next to like a japonicum, like we just talked about with Blushing Beauty. I mean, this thing's going to really stand out because you got those large leaves. These are kind of a smaller leaf, you know, crazy variegated colors on it. So there's just so many different ways to use this particular cultivar. I think it's one you definitely got to have in your garden.
Yeah, for sure, especially if you love variegated plants.
Absolutely. All right, man. Next up, we got a cool little cultivar here. We got Acer palmatum Kimu.
Straight from Japan, a Masayoshi Yano introduction. I know that Matt and Tim were talking about this one in the podcast. Yano, an amazing photographer, amazing nurseryman, and I definitely was somebody that Matt and Tim looked up to a lot in their journey. And Kimu is an amazing linear lobum cultivar.
Yeah, definitely, if you didn't get a chance to check out that podcast on Yano and the history behind what he's brought to the horticulture world, it's absolutely amazing. I love hearing the history and backstories behind a lot of these cultivars. Sometimes for me, some of the biggest selling points for different cultivars is the backstory for it. And then you combine that with an amazing tree that fits all the characteristics you're looking for, and it's just a winning combination. Yeah, Yano's got some killer plants, dude. He's like, you know, he's definitely one of those guys that everybody kind of looks up to when it comes to, you know, horticulture and what he's done for that industry. But this is a great linear lobum style Japanese maple with kind of some irregular leaf growth on that. You're going to have a lot of those really narrow lobes. Then you'll have a little bit of mix of some that are a little bit bigger. So it gives you a variety of texture within the same plant. I like that about it.
Yeah, I know Matt and Tim, they love talking about the bamboo feel of linear lobums in the garden. And Kimu just is like something that I feel like aptly describes it is the word crisp. Like it just has a nice crisp foliage.
It does.
It's very subtle, but it's like very, very interesting look to it. I mean, I would love to have one of these in my garden, kind of breaking up some of the feel of regular palmatums or even conifers, honestly. And this is one that's really cool, especially knowing that it's from Japan, introduced in 1990.
Yeah. So it's been around a while. This is kind of, you know, starting to become one of those tried and true linear lobum types. And one of the great things about them too is not only you get that crazy texture, but they always have some killer fall colors on them too, man. I like that about it. Even though you have that very small and narrow lobes, it's always vibrant, man. You get some nice oranges and yellows on this plant. So it's going to contrast really well with the other colors that you know normally gets, like some reds and things like that out in the garden. This is going to bring some intense colors for sure.
Yeah, definitely hold on to this. Ask all your favorite, you know, professional gardeners what they think this is, because it's definitely probably going to stump them, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh.
What do we got?
Here? What do we got?
Matt and Tim would say, the plane, bro. We got Acer palmatum Tattoo. You aren't going to regret this one. An awesome Makawa type with very interesting, funky looking foliage.
Dude, I love the dwarf Japanese maples. They have so many different varieties in the dwarf world now these days. And Tattoo, I think, is a really cool one because it's in that Makawa family. So you're going to get that characteristic you love about macaw, really tightly layered leaves, great structure on these as well. But this one's extremely dwarf. So if you think of macaw as a dwarf, this is like even more dwarfier than macaw. So now one of the things I think that is kind of understated a lot with tattoo, a lot of collectors say, well, I've already got a macaw, I don't need a tattoo. This one definitely does have some characteristics I think is somewhat subtle, but when you really pay attention, you notice those differences. The leaf on it has a nice serrated edge to it, which creates kind of this ruffled texture to the leaf. And I love that about it. It's a little bit different texture-wise than a standard macaw Yetsubusa, and that's what I like about tattoo.
Yeah, I like the, nice dense ball shape that it gets as it continues to age. The foliage definitely sets it apart from a lot of different macawas. Some of them get that twisting, get that kind of non-uniform leaf, and it definitely adds a lot of contrast. You got macawa and you got tattoo sitting apart. You're definitely going to notice the differences, and it's going to be one that's gonna love to see some of that progeny come from tattoo, see how far you can kind of take this like crumpled leaf looking macawa, and see how far we can take it in the trade.
Yeah, I think that's what's cool about it. I think this is one you'd really enjoy being up close. So I think it makes a great container plant. This is one that I think I personally would love to try as a bonsai. I'm always thinking about what's my next bonsai project. And I've got 3 right now currently kind of in the mix that I'm working on. And I think maybe this might be the 4th that I need to add to my collection there. But yeah, it would make a great bonsai because it's got that crazy structure to it, smaller leaf, nice texture, everything you love about it, and then killer fall colors on top of that with some oranges and reds.
Yeah, I know. I'm always struck by how awesome the fall color is. Seeing it in Matt's yard and just watching that thing just turn like almost looking like a fire out there in the garden. That's for sure.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh yeah.
All right, so this is cool right here, man. I love this cultivar. Corbin, what do we got?
Guys, we got Acer pomatum Shenhikasa.
Yeah, man, this is really cool because this gives you that kind of Higaseyama style variegation to it. Really, really ornate leaves. I love this style of variegation because it just draws you in to make you look even deeper into that leaf. The veining, the variegation, the whites and pinks that you can get on this is absolutely insane. And then also what I like about this is it does have a very dense habit too. It's a little more stretched out than like a macawa type, but it fits kind of in that realm. Very bushy, kind of compact habit to it. I love that with that Higaseyama style variegation. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that leaf shape is very reminiscent of maybe that Shirai no Sume, almost that claw of the dragon,
Yeah.
with the Higaseyama style variegation inside of it. This is one that's going to look amazing during the springtime as you start to see that first initial flush. Get those brightest colors of whites, a little bit of pinks mixed in, and on that amazing leaf of Shenhikasa with that density, it's just going to look amazing out there in the landscape.
Yeah, this has got some great new growth color on it as well, kind of a bright kind of chartreuse and pink green. So it's contrasting even right here as we're getting into summer with all that new growth popping over top. I love that about it. This has got some great fall color too. We'll talk about that for a second. It's kind of got this crazy like pink orange color. It's different than what you would expect to get out of a cultivar like this. And so you just start thinking about all the characteristics that make this thing stand out. It's got a lot going for it. You know what I mean? This is definitely one that you want to add to your landscape.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely differentiates itself from a lot of those Higaseyama styles just because how that foliage looks with that on top of that leaf shape. And it's a little bit more, I think that variegation is a little bit more elongated inside the leaf than maybe a Higaseyama. So it definitely looks crazy, and one that I might have to pick up.
I mean, I've never met a maple I didn't like, so,
All right, man. What do we got here, Brian?
All right, what we got here is Acer palmatum Strawberry Delight.
And this is a pretty delightful tree, man. It reminds me of the strawberries. with that amazing pink color that flushes over top of it during the springtime. Amazing reticulation on this one. Which, you know, I love a little bit of both. I love that variegation. I love that pink color. And you're kind of getting the best of both worlds out of this one.
All right, so yeah, Strawberry Delight definitely has some really interesting colors, leafing out with a nice kind of creamy white color with some pink blushes over top of that. And then as it gets into the, you know, summer months, you get this crazy strawberry pink color coming over top. Definitely a nice contrast. I love reticulated Japanese maples, and this one is kind of in that medium size. You know, you're getting like 6 to 8 feet in 10 years, so it's not going to get too crazy big out in your garden, so it fits in a lot of good spaces.
Yeah, I love how serrated the lobes are and how thin they are. It really adds a nice interest to that reticulation. And I mean, the colors on this are amazing. Getting that bright orange to red fall color in those later months. And
Yeah.
it's just a cool tree to definitely check out and throw it next to some of those other reticulated varieties, like some ghost types.
Oh, absolutely.
Get these things talking, and you definitely start to see some of those differences in the foliage.
Absolutely. Yeah. So moving on to the next one.
Guys, you guys are asking for those bigger sizes. This thing is huge. I mean,
It's
taller than me. I'm not that tall, but you know, taller than
me.
Brian.
So that, you know, that's
And he
good,
is tall.
that is a good reference point for how huge this thing is. The variegation on this thing is absolutely crazy. Today we got Van Huey Smith.
An awesome Thuja orientalis. I mean, who doesn't love an arbor vitae? And you know, sometimes gets a little boring with those regular green arbor vitaes, so you got to throw in an electric yellow one. And I mean, this thing is electric.
Yeah, this is something that we've kind of brought new to MrMaple.com, is these 10-gallon sizes that we're shipping out now. So make sure that when you're on the website to go and browse that 10-gallon inventory, because we got a lot of stuff going on, and I know this is going to be a popular plant for sure. I mean, I love variegated plants, and then you get into variegated conifers. I mean, it's insane, man. You get year-round interest out in the garden. This thing is always putting on a crazy show with this yellow and green variegation. Absolutely love this thing, and it's definitely going to just make a huge presence, like immediately, in your garden.
Yeah, man, I love the yellow on the green. This is going to be great for screening in areas for a little bit more privacy. It's going to be one that you're going to have a lot of contrast with in your garden. You know, maybe make this a backdrop to some of those other trees. And I mean, 10 gallons shipping on MrMaple.com. Let's go to the next 10 gallon.
Let's do it.
Guys, we got Acer pomatum Segan.
Dude, this 10-gallon size Segan is very rare to see out in the trade right now. I'm telling you, if you go to try to find this maple anywhere, you're lucky to find a 1-gallon, let alone a 10-gallon size of this. So if you're somebody that loves instant gratification, and you love Japanese maples, and you love killer colors, this is the tree for you, man. This thing comes leafing out in the spring with a crazy pink color that you're going to just be blown away by.
Guys, if you like bonsai, this is one that's very reminiscent of that Shenhikasa kind of vibe in that area. And 10 gallon is going to be great to be able to put into the ground, get it growing off nice, start a couple air layers on the sucker, and then boom, you got bonsai right there. You're starting off in a good spot, good cultivar, rooted in. And I mean, it doesn't get much easier than that one to start with some nice material for bonsai. I mean,
yeah, and if you're just putting this out in your landscape, this is going to kind of stay that medium size, so very similar to like Shenhikasa, 6 to 8 feet in 10 years, so it's not going to get out there too quick, and you're already getting a great size to start with. So you'll be able to enjoy this right away when you put it out in your landscape. I know sometimes, you know, when you're planting a 1 gallon, you're like, man, what's this thing going to look like? I don't know. But this is going to give you kind of a great demonstration of what this tree can look like in the future, and get it right away.
I love how dense the foliage is, how small the foliage is, and that really harps back to how, you know, this could be a great tree for some bonsai, getting started with some air layerings. And I mean, this thing is huge.
Yeah.
And we're shipping it.
We're shipping it. It's crazy, man. Well, anyway, we appreciate you guys tuning in to today's video. Hope you like me and Corbin getting out here chopping it up on a 10 at 10, bringing you some hot plants here on the first day of summer. I mean, you know, people have been giving me a hard time because I'm like, man, it's warming up here. I think it's going to get a high of 78 degrees, which some people was like, dude, that's nothing, man. But that's why I moved to the mountains. I love it out here. I love growing Japanese maples here. It's absolutely the perfect climate for it. But we're excited to be shipping these plants out to you guys because there's so many cool gardens all across the country, and we're excited to be able to bring that and add something to your landscape.
Yeah, and there's nothing better than gardening with your homie, man.
That's right, dude.
Make sure to check out that MrMaple Friends group. Lots of homies in there talking about maple stuff. And also, don't forget to check all those 10 other trees that are coming to your email soon. And yeah, thanks for checking us out. Take care.
God bless.
And have a great, excellent day.